gonna do about it? Because he's not getting that title.
You won't close until we take away the last shred of his dignity?
Bingo.
Well, that's not gonna happen.
This is the second scene in the TV show Suits, in which Harvey Specter is introduced to the audience. This is a body language analysis of a scene in a professional setting where the tension in the room builds up. And that is something you might encounter on your own job.
Why don't you take your pansy attitude back in there and make him sign my deal? Or I'll pay someone else your money to do it for me.
It is tempting to counter anger with anger, but that isn't the best thing you can do. I've also been asked to break down the body language of the royal family in this situation. If that is something that you're interested in, let me know in the comments below. By the end of this video, you'll learn many body language gestures and will start spotting them in your own life.
So keep your empty threats to yourself.
Notice him closing the distance.
When I said you're done, I meant your future at this firm is over.
I'll cover more of them in the future.
I'm paying you millions, and you're telling me I'm gonna get screwed?
Jessica, have I come at a bad time?
Gerald.
Right off the get-go, you can see a cluster of non-verbal signals in Jessica Pearson. First of all, look at the locked-on eye contact as the client is coming down on her. Here you see a harsh swallow that indicates internal tension. The theory behind this is that when the stress response has kicked in, more blood flows to our muscles as a response to prepare us for either fight or flight. In other words, our orthosympathetic nervous system is activated more than our parasympathetic nervous system. And this makes swallowing harder because there is less saliva production. Friends, there is a caveat to this. For example, people who take certain medication have a dry mouth, and there are many other exceptions, but I can't keep focusing on every exception with these cues. All in all, it's a reliable indicator of emotional distress. The question is, what is the origin of this distress or tension? Remember, without the 3 C's, we can't reliably read someone's gestures. So let's look for a couple of other gestures.
Jessica, have I come at a bad time?
Gerald. This is Harvey Specter.
Look at it again. Balled fist. This balling of the fist happens in a variety of situations. It happens when we are anxious, angry, or experience a different underlying tension that we wish to conceal.
You who killed your mother to come into the world. You who killed your mother to come into the world.
However, when I do this, friends, after a long wait, there is a new video series coming up. You see, I have my fist clenched there, but when placing the same gesture, the balled fist, in this context, it has a completely other meaning. Unshakable determination and excitement conveyed through a powerful fist.
I love it! Don't you love it, folks? It's incredible, it's so gorgeous! Don't you love it, folks? It's incredible, it's so gorgeous!
This is why it is so key, guys. It is so key to read body language with the 3 C's in mind. Clusters, congruence, and context. Just to give you one more example of this, look at Brad Pitt in the Bullet Train.
But they were buying it. Oh, I had him. But they were buying it. Oh, I had him.
Screwed?
Jessica, have I come at a bad time?
Gerald. This is Harvey Specter.
Also, you see her fidgeting here. I've explained this many times before, but it is key to know this and also to observe it in your own life. Fidgeting is a self-soothing behavior. There is internal tension when the limbic brain is aroused, which I've covered in the very first body language video, and we are stressed and nervous. Surges of neurotransmitters and hormones such as adrenaline cause uncontrollable quivering of the hands. Fidgeting is a sign of emotional distress. The freeze, fight or flight response has kicked in and we try to calm ourselves down by stimulating body parts. The reason is that sensory stimulation of our body placates us. It calms us down when we experience something unpleasant. This comes in a variety of ways, guys. Just like doing it like this or like this. Like, there are so many things, and you're gonna see it more and more in the upcoming videos. The key to reading someone's body language is to find out what causes this inattention in the other person. In this case, if we read all other cues and put our common sense to the situation, it is because she is angry. She is trying to suppress that anger, and this fidgeting is a body language leak. Similar to when you saw Billy Kimber and Arthur Shelby do this when they both had a lot of aggression pent up inside of them. Besides the harsh swallowing, bald fist, and fidgeting, there is another one that I really want you to spot.
Jessica, have I come at a bad time?
Gerald, this is Harvey Specter. This is Harvey Specter.
Watch here. Notice how her shoulders drop down. When we are feeling tense, we instinctively raise our shoulders as a way to protect our neck and throat.
Bad time?
The moment Harvey walks in, you see the relief in her body language and also hear her sigh out a great portion of the tension. Also, another great thing to observe, which is very high status, is she isn't turning her body instantly towards Harvey. She takes a second and then she does it. And this should remind you of something. The James Bond body language analysis we did. Just observe him doing it here. Observe this well. I'll play it again at half speed. James turns his body but keeps his eye focused. This is a trait observed in a lot of high status people. This mismatch isn't something natural. You have to master this. It adds subconsciously to your charisma.
It has to do with death.
A subject in which you're well versed.
Gerald, this is Harvey Specter.
Look at that mean face.
He's our best closer.
Note Harvey's eye contact here. He is sizing the client up.
Well, if you're the best closer, where the hell you been for the last 3 hours?
Now, that is one way to start a conversation.
Well, if you're the best closer, where the hell you been for the last 3 hours?
Notice the tension in his face, furrowed eyebrows, tense lips, and piercing eye contact.
Well, Gerald, I specialize in troubled situations, and when I left here at 7 p.m., this deal wasn't in jeopardy, so I'm just trying to figure out what happened in the interim.
What Harvey does here, guys, turning his back on him and walking away, is an extremely significant move to make, which I'll cover later in the scene breakdown. Right now, it's meant to diffuse the brewing tension, which is completely different than the one we'll cover later on.
I'm trying to figure out what happened in the interim.
We keep offering more money, they keep rejecting it.
Very strong eye contact of the client. Notice the upper half of his face barely moves. He's locked onto Harvey. And also notice Jessica's eye contact here.
It wasn't in jeopardy, so I'm just trying to figure out what happened in the interim.
We keep offering more money, they keep rejecting it. It's last-minute bad faith bullshit.
Focus on this area. As he is talking, nothing happens here until he mentions this.
Bad faith bullshit.
Then he sneers. This is one of the things to be wary of. It signifies disrespect or disdain, and it is a primitive response. Animals use this as a warning signal. I've explained it more in depth in the Luca Changretta video, and there the sneer is more pronounced than here. However, this signal can also possibly forecast the likelihood of a breakup in married couples. In the book What Everybody is Saying by Joe Navarro, he mentions, at the University of Washington, researcher John Gottman discovered during therapy with married couples that if one or both partners sneered, this was a significant and potent signal for predicting the likelihood of a breakup. Once disregard or contempt has entered the psyche, as indicated by a sneer, the relationship is troubled or even terminal.
It's last-minute bad faith bullshit.
Says here that Cooper won't be staying on as honorary vice president.
That's right, I don't want him around.
Notice how his head is more down compared to a second before. It's almost as if he's protecting his throat from an attack.
Honorary vice president.
That's right, I don't want him around.
He wouldn't be around. It's an honorary position.
Now Harvey gets genuinely annoyed here. Locked eye contact with him. And notice how he leaks internal tension through his face and voice.
It's an honorary position. It's an honorary position.
Look at the exaggerated mouth and tensed muscles around the eyes. Also observe Jessica here, the arm drape. This is an expansive and territorial gesture. She makes herself appear larger. This is a high confident gesture. And by the way, that's a gesture you can start using yourself right away. I'm also working on a confident body language course to start with before I create a huge expansive full body language course. And guess what? This is one of those gestures you need to learn how to use and when to use.
She likes to laugh, eh?
He wouldn't be around. It's an honorary position.
I don't give a shit.
Flash of contempt. As said many times before in other videos, this is one of the 7 universal facial expressions. It's a one-sided lift of the corners of the lips, signaling superiority, hidden knowledge, or disdain.
A generous offer. Or a desperate one.
What does it matter?
Listen friends, smirking occasionally here and there can be sexy.
You done?
Oof, this looks valuable. Now I'm done.
But do it too often and people may start disliking you. Again, the context around how you use it determines its sexiness. Look at this. This makes it, in my eyes, sexy. It's kind of alluring.
You shouldn't stare.
Again, be careful with this one. Don't flash this too much with superiors around you.
I don't give a shit.
Well, I think you do, because that's what's changed since I left, which means it's you who's been dealing in bad faith.
Well, now that you've got a grasp on what's happened in the goddamn interim, what are you gonna do about it? Because he's not getting that title.
His eye contact is really strong. Too much eye contact actually for anyone to employ it like this. If you're unsure about how much eye contact you should give someone, you should watch the James Bond body language breakdown video as well, because in that video I give you an approximate amount of eye contact that you should adopt when speaking and how much you should adopt when listening as a high status individual.
What are you gonna do about it? Because he's not getting that title.
Well, let me make sure I understand this, okay?
Now you see Harvey breaking the tension. He doesn't look down, he looks sideways. He diffuses the tension between him and the client without making it appear as if he is submitting to him.
Well, let me make sure I understand this, okay? We negotiated a deal that gave you everything you wanted. Mr. Cooper signed it, and now you won't close until we take away the last shred of his dignity?
As he gives a recap of what's happened, notice Harvey's eyes here are a bit wider, and when he makes his point, he has his eyes in a prolonged squinted position. Even more fascinating is listening to how he inflects his voice.
Deal that gave you everything you wanted. Mr. Cooper signed it, and now you won't close until we take away the last shred of his dignity?
Okay, I'm noticing that for the body language videos, I need to cover the 3 main vocal inflections with some extras soon. I'll start working on creating a video about it. The first verbal dominance video is coming out in a couple of days, so subscribe if you do not want to miss out on that valuable video. Normally, the upward inflection
His dignity, his dignity, his dignity, his dignity.
is an approval seeking or not so sure or questioning, sometimes even excitement form of tonality. For example, is this what you mean? Uncertainty there. Versus, is this what you mean? The exact same words, but different emotion expressions. I'll provide other examples from movies and series in the verbal dominance and vocal tonality videos. Now, even though it's a very supplicating tone that Harvey has here, if you look at the sentence itself, placing this in this particular context, you quickly notice he's mocking him.
Deal that gave you everything you wanted. Mr. Cooper signed it, and now you won't close until we take away the last shred of his dignity?
Dignity? Almost saying, are you f***ing serious? Don't you hear how ridiculous you sound?
The last shred of his dignity?
Bingo.
Well, that's not gonna happen.
Now, this head nod may look contradictory. He says no, but nods yes. But this one is a little more nuanced. Just know that in this instance, it's used as an amplifier. He hammers his conviction home with his head.
Well, that's not gonna happen.
And why the hell not?
Because I like Mr. Cooper, and my firm doesn't operate in bad faith.
This move of Harvey, it's a very hostile move. Before I explain what this means, there are 2 things I'd like to mention. First, body language is great to understand, and learning to embody the messages you want to send out empowers you. But I want to have it said that this is a more superficial approach. It's an outside-in approach instead of the inside-out approach. It works great if you combine it with working on improving your mindset, your values, and quality of life in a plethora of ways. See, the goal of this channel is to give you tools and strategies that you can implement in your life so you can achieve your desired goals and dreams in an ethical manner. Videos about body language, business, personal development, financial education, productivity, ethical power, and a bunch of other things will be coming. If that is something that resonates with you, consider subscribing. Harvey Specter is a man of purpose. He clearly knows what he wants. Having a clear vision and a purpose and developing deep-seated roots of confidence are all closely related. If you live a purposeless life, I highly suggest you to develop a vision for yourself by yourself. I gave 3 exercises in this video. Now, I do want to warn you, by doing the last exercise in that video, it might make you cry, but it will move you towards setting a great vision for your life. Well worth the minutes. And for those who don't know me, my profession is dentistry and I'm studying applied psychology on the side. In the near future, I'm also becoming a certified body language analyst and expert. I also appreciate you for all your support, likes and comments. It helps out tremendously with the YouTube algorithm. This will become the #1 ultimate personal development channel in the future, so thank you for supporting the community so early on. And by the way, my productivity planner is back in stock. You can grab it from my website, so for those who couldn't order it before, you can try it again. Just beware that they sell out real quickly. There are plenty of people who write down the one gesture they want to focus on observing and using themselves on a day-to-day basis. What this does is this will keep your attention on like, yes, this is what I'm gonna focus on today. And when you keep training it, you will start learning body language, seeing it, observing it, and then not only decoding it, but also encoding it in your own life. Moving on with our video. This closing the distance and entering another personal space between 2 people in a head-on 180-degree fashion like this, it is usually done for 2 reasons, exceptions aside for now. First reason, to intimidate someone. Just like here.
So keep your empty threats to yourself.
Notice him closing the distance.
When I said you're done, I meant your future at this firm is over.
And here.
Are you calling me a liar?
And here.
Let's not kid ourselves, Mr. Pressler.
And therein lies our conflict.
Guys, I have many examples of this and we'll include them in the body language course I'm working on. Just have to find a way to make it legally viable. Second, to become intimate with someone. This could be romantically.
I love you.
But also friendly.
Thank you.
And or to show empathy.
All this came from that.
Give yourself some credit, please. Stark Tower is your baby.
Let's get back to the scene.
My firm doesn't operate in bad faith.
Oh, I see how it is.
Another nasty expression of contempt. His head is also slightly tilted, which, given this context, shows how full he is of himself.
Oh, I see how it is. Instead of working Cooper, you're working me.
Now he is the one closing the distance. He is going in. Signifying, you want to fight? Let's get it on.
Why don't you take your pansy attitude back in there and make him sign my deal? Or I'll pay someone else your money to do it for me.
The scene now only gets greater. In a second you'll see Harvey pull off that significant move we saw before. That one is showing a dangerous level of confidence. But I'll cut the video short here, and in the continuation of this scene breakdown, we'll cover that and much more. Trust me guys, you do not want to miss out on that. So be sure to subscribe, and when the video is out you can see it here. In the meanwhile, I highly suggest you to work on developing a vision for your life, so click here.